everybody, and welcome back to Rise of the Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Brownie.
And hey, well, guess what, everybody? We're on iTunes.
Woo!
Woo!
Like celebrities.
That's right, we are.
So for all of our audio listeners, if you want to come and watch the video of the podcast that we do, come over to youtube.com/Rise of the Podcast, and you can check out the video version of this podcast. Mm-hmm. And welcome, audio listeners. You have 17 backlog episodes to listen to.
Plus this one.
So this is episode 18. Guys, can you believe we've been doing this for 18 episodes already?
That's like 18 more than I thought.
So I wanted to come up with a fun topic, and we're going to jump right into this one here today. And then on the way here, I just realized it kind of ties in to a very popular Facebook event that's getting really close to happening. So, Chris, do you remember what September 20th is?
Yeah, it's Area 51.
Raid Area 51. So there's a whole bunch of people out there that are planning on raiding Area 51. Not really, right? But the Facebook page.
There's going to be people who show up. You know there is.
They'll show up, but they're not going to do anything.
Right?
They're going to, you're right, they're not going to do anything. So I saw this.
Okay, so can I speculate just for a moment before you start?
Yep.
Okay, so depending on how many people actually show up for this could end up becoming one of those things that ends up becoming some sort of stupid holiday at some point.
Oh my gosh.
Where it's like, oh yeah, it's Area 51 day. Just so.
Right.
What is it? Remind me in 10 years.
Right.
About Area 51 day. I called it.
All right. Chris called it here. You heard it here first.
Well, we'll just go in 10 years from now. That's what we'll do. So I was on Reddit the other day, and I got to dive into this topic. And I had heard about this topic before, but I really liked the way that this infographic broke down the different reasons why. So what we're going to talk about, Chris, is the Fermi paradox.
Okay.
Are you familiar with it at all?
I've heard of it. I know that Enrico Fermi is a very baller scientist man.
Wow, you're already throwing down some mad knowledge.
Do you know when he died?
Oh gosh, 1800s sometime.
Oh no.
1954?
The year my dad was born. Yeah.
Oh, so what you're saying is your dad is the reincarnation.
Exactly.
Do you know what he's famous for? Besides the paradox.
Man, I watch so much physics stuff that it just all jumbles together.
Nuclear reactor, right?
I believe that's what it was,
created a nuclear reactor.
Okay.
So basically,
sorry. Before we get too deep, could you just crack the door a little bit more?
Sure.
It's sorry. We run the world's most professional podcast. Here. we have door ventilation systems built in here, and it was just a little too closed.
That's okay.
All right, back to real science stuff.
Real sciencey stuff. So a paradox is something that basically contradicts itself. Right? Correct?
So, well, if we really want to boil into it, there's multiple different types of paradoxes.
Ooh.
So Vsauce 2 does an amazing video about the different types of paradox.
That's pretty cool. I love Vsauce as a channel.
Oh, so good. Actually, I like all three okay, just Vsauce tangent, people.
Okay.
So Vsauce, obviously amazing. Michael's the best.
Right.
He's awesome. Then I saw like Vsauce 2 and 3 and it's like, meh, whatever. I like all three channels. All three of them bring such different but cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh, fanboy. Anyway, yes. So
there's different types of paradox. The one we're going to be talking today is contradictory ones, right?
Yeah, the ones that they have an internal logic that makes them seem like they're impossible to happen.
So the reason why, so the Fermi paradox states that statistically there should be life out there. Mm-hmm. And according to, is it the Drake formula, I believe? The Drake formula states there should be about 20 other habitable planets with life on them. But why haven't we found any?
Right.
So that's the aspect I kind of want to dive into today.
Is it, so if I recall correctly, doesn't something that has to do with that, like if there is intelligent life out there, why hasn't it contacted us yet?
Yes.
Of thing?
So that's the thing. So there should be 20 other civilizations out there. Where are they? Why haven't we heard from them? And what are the reasons behind that? So there's 8 to 12 different theories on why that is. So we're going to dive into the first one. I thought we could just go over and talk about each one a little bit.
All right, you're right. I have done a lot of looking into this. So
this is kind of fun. All right. So the first one is like the rare Earth. Okay. So the rare Earth says basically we're unique. Mm-hmm. Planets like Earth with complex life are extremely rare. And that intelligent extraterrestrial life is highly improbable. So basically, we're one of a kind. So what makes me sad about that is it's like, there should be other people like us, but we're the only ones. It's rare.
Yeah, I mean, but the universe is so big.
Right.
Well,
you know?
Yeah, like there's when you're talking about like crazy statistical things, one of the things I like to point to is the fact that objectively the moon and the sun are the same size.
Right.
The probability of that happening is so freaking low already.
Right.
That it's I think that could confirm to me a little bit of the idea that like we just hit so many lucky breaks in a row that it's like, so life formed, we became advanced enough, like there's like exactly the right conditions, just because there's so much possibility for variation out there.
Right.
We hit all those check boxes, and then we got some celestial luck as well with the
Right.
moon and the sun being apparently the same size and all that.
So the rare Earth theory, it's a little depressing. Like that we were truly alone out there. And then you think about like the age of the universe and stuff existing and then not existing and stuff like that. So you're talking about, Chris, is like you talked about the ratio between, so the sun and the moon are different sizes, but the fact that they're the same distance.
Yeah,
and,
because there's the difference in their size and the difference of their distance from Earth are the same. Like the moon is X% smaller, but X% closer than the sun, so they appear apparently the same size. So we get total lunar or solar eclipses.
Exactly, which is super rare. And then there's synchronous rotation too, that we always see the same side of the moon.
Yeah, also not uncommon at all.
Super cool.
Having
super,
only
super
a moon
cool. Yes.
is also super uncommon.
You either have a lot or none, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you talked about like the creation, formation, stuff like that. So this is the next one is the Great Filter, which is really fascinating to me. Basically is that the Earth has been through 5 mass extinction events, but nevertheless, we're still around. So this one states that if all habitable planets were hit with like a killer asteroid or scorched by a solar flare or geological upheavals, basically other planets might not have been so lucky. So we survived these great mass extinction events, but other planets might not have been lucky. So there could have been intelligent life out there, but they were killed off by their...
They all got hit by quasars and stuff.
Exactly. They all suffered the way of the dinosaur or whatever, you know?
Have you looked into what happens when you get hit by like a gamma ray burst off of a quasar or anything?
No, I don't even... You can tell me what a quasar is.
Oh man, this is the part where we get where people are going to just totally destroy us. But if I recall correctly, it could be a pulsar too. It's a type of star that is like spins incredibly fast and generates like these bursts of energy in the form of gamma rays, which from the poles.
Right. Okay.
Basically, so if somehow it was oriented so that it was pointing at Earth, it would basically immediately, like, as soon as you got hit by it, it would blast the entire atmosphere off of the Earth and just roast us.
And how long would that take? Like a couple seconds?
Like, instantaneously. As soon as it points at Earth, it's just like the Death Star beam, but times a billion.
Got it.
It's
Got it.
There's no more Earth.
That is crazy.
I think I found a picture of basically what you're talking about.
We
will
like
post
a star
a picture
with insane
right
beams.
So
Here.
kind of like...
Yep.
We'll post a picture right here. Sorry, audio listeners.
And we'll make it strike Jeremy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're so funny.
Jeremy, leave the room for a second so Chris can do a poof of smoke
Yeah,
and
and
you're
I'm
gone.
gone. Hey, y'all open the door some more and just never come back.
Just some flames.
Yeah, just a little bit of fire left.
And then so in this case, so that's one of them. So that's kind of fun too. And then so
What
the
was
next
that one
one
called? The Great Filter?
That's the Great Filter.
The Great Filter, okay.
Yep.
You know what else makes the Great Filter? Our sponsor. Just kidding.
I was doing fake ad reads in the car right on the way here.
They were actually
I actually said, I got to pause right now. This episode of Rise of the Podcast was brought to you by Rise of the Podcast. We want to give a shout out to Jeremy, Chris, and Kara for presenting, just because we're self doing our thing right now.
Yep.
So I thought that was pretty fun. So then this one we were talking about on the way here, and this is one Kara had touched on. Do you want to talk about like the early bird one, more or less?
Oh, basically, what they say is that we're just like Jerry said, we're the early birds. We are like the first intelligent life out there, and the Earth was just kind of early in everything, and so here we are, way before any alien life can be around or is around, and we're the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, we're that.
Yeah.
This one I love. This one I think is interesting because that puts the burden of responsibility on Earth,
Right.
to get out to the stars, become the established Star Trek. You know, that's like kind of like the principle of Star Trek. You know, we'll get into that actually later on. On a different one, but like that puts the burden, on us. Like, we have to be the ones that set up.
You have a lot of faith in humanity.
I know.
We can't even decide whether or not we want to not have plastic in the ocean.
Oh man, I know.
No.
And so,
But I've heard about this one a lot, And what I've heard, when people explain it, it's kind of sad too, because we could potentially be so early that we will be long gone by the time that there's actually a legitimate like multi-system, establishment of different life forms and stuff. So it'll be like, oh no, those are the ones that were first, but ultimately didn't have the longevity to stick around and stuff. So it's like it's kind of sad and lonely in a sense that we're here, but may not be here long enough to be a participant in a truly interstellar or intergalactic society.
Right.
That's the sad way to look at it.
So it's just one of the perspectives, like say, because the way that you looked at it, like the happy way is like we get to set the standard for how the universe interacts with itself.
Right now, it's a sad standard.
Like you said, we can't agree on a lot of stuff. So then you talked about plastics in the ocean. So that isn't on my list, but Kara, I believe that was on your list. So there's a theory out there that basically says when life gets to a point of having intelligence, that it eventually destroys itself.
Oh yeah, what did I write? Intelligent. I don't know where it was. But yeah, basically intelligent life self-destructs.
Yes.
So once we get to a certain point, and basically what they said in the article was, there may have been intelligent life before us, but they got to a point where they created this nuclear bomb or something or other and ended up destroying all of human life.
Right. So they got past their great filters and all that stuff, but then they killed themselves.
So it's kind of like the opposite version of the sad version of what I just said,
Yes.
where it's like we're not the first, we're like the last.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like the episode in Death, Love, Robots.
Yes.
The Hitler one.
No, not there's the episode in Death, Love, Robots where they're in the fridge. And
oh yeah, the fridge one too.
The humanity.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, well, you probably haven't seen it. But to sum it up, people move into an apartment, they open their freezer, and the whole cycle of human life is going on inside the freezer, but at like 1,000 times accelerated rate. So it starts with cavemen, and then it jumps up to this industrial revolution, and then it jumps up to a future age. And then the guy's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check on the civilization," and he opens the door, and they nuke each other, and he gets sunburnt on his face. And then they get past that, though. Then they reach a space traveling age, and then they one day they open the freezer and these little spaceships fly out, and then they're gone.
Well, no, and then there was one with Hitler when remember the rats go and take over, and then after.
Oh
that,
yeah. It shows up like if what would have happened at each point if Hitler wouldn't have been killed when he was killed. So it was like instead of if he would have got hit by a bus walking down the street, then
I did see this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Kara said, we wipe ourselves. I see which one you're saying.
Yeah, it's so
we wipe ourselves out, so then rats become the dominant species on
everybody
Earth.
shoots nukes at each other, the world gets nuked, and then rats rise, and they're a peaceful group of rats. And then
there's a Hitler rat, right?
Yeah.
right? And then they kill off each other because they realize that they've got power, and then like trillions of years later, squid take over the world.
Yeah, or the moon. They make it to the moon. The standard for that is how long it takes different cultures to reach the moon, more or less.
Oh,
yeah.
Because that's like
It's
humanity's
fun. I like that.
feat.
Good stuff.
The Simpsons, meme if it is, the Simpsons did that idea first, actually.
Oh, did they really?
There's a Treehouse of Horror episode where I believe Lisa's trying to do a science project, and she ends up creating a society that lives in this little like tub or whatever, and she checks in on it occasionally, and it's the same thing where it's like they start in the Stone Age and they end up like progressing all the way to like they're flying around the house and everything. That I believe was a '90s episode. Like,
really?
It was a while ago.
That's super cool. And so I'm excited, Chris, because I thought you're either going to have a lot to say about this stuff or you're going to just look at me like, what are you doing? And this is kind of fun. All right, so we've talked about the rare earth, the great filter, and so now there is another popular one is the great silence. And the great silence states that we're just not worth it.
I've heard this one too.
So there are other species out there that are so advanced that they have like a scale. It's the Kardashev scale. They're able to harness energy of the galaxy and stuff like that. And we're just simple humans.
Yeah.
We're not worth it.
I believe this ties into this theory. There's like 3 orders of magnitude of energy that determines whether or not you hit these criteria. And so like tier 1 is where we are right now, where we're almost able to harness the energy of our planet.
Got it.
Then tier 2 is being able to harness the energy of like your star.
Cool.
Basically. And then tier 3 is like if you can harness like some greater energy beyond that, like the energy of the expansion force of the universe or something. I don't recall what the third tier is, but like
oh yeah.
If you can think like it's like we're running on most like fossil fuels or like some like renewables and stuff, but we the energy efficiency rate of everything we do is so absolutely just terrible right now. Like the energy conversion is so bad.
Let's look at our lifetime. So you've got humanity up to the 1900s, and then you got 1800s or whatever. Electricity comes around. Then with electricity, you've got incandescent bulbs. Let's just say, so you literally like overcharge a filament so that it glows, and now we've got light emitting diodes that take an absolute fraction of the electricity, and we just keep pushing things to being more efficient. But we're still powering our stuff off of like coal as we make our transition to nuclear and like renewables, as in like wind and
wind, solar, hydro.
So what you're talking about is really fun. So right now, we can't take and make energy if we made a spaceship and traveled out to Pluto, let's say, and go visit our friendly Pluto, until we were able to harness the energy of the sun, harness energy away from the planet.
I believe that it's called a Dyson sphere, and it's an array that you build around a star. Because like right now we get an Earth's diameter sized portion of the sun's energy, which is proportionately microscopic.
Oh, this is fun.
And so you can build a Dyson sphere around a star and get 100% of the energy the star is releasing in that sphere.
I'm going to do a fun tangent on that really quick. So there was a universal hate list for people that all people hate. One of them was being stuck in traffic. One of them was being wait on hold. I didn't get to the rest, but I was like, corded stuff. Everybody hates cords and loves wireless. So there's like wireless power. So we build this big Dyson sphere around the sun, and then you transmit the power like, wirelessly or whatever to your spaceship as you're flying around. So as long as you're in X amount of range of your sun, you can go hang out and do what you want to do. And
interesting.
It's kind of fun.
I don't know if you remember this, but when we were in high school, you were talking about how great it would be to have wireless power.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, I just can't wait. And it was because the GameCube had the wireless controller thing you could plug in, and you could buy it. And it was like, so it's like just someday we could have electricity wirelessly.
Well, and it was so funny because like before, even then, you needed a dongle for the GameCube to play wirelessly. Now that's a standard on all current gen consoles. And then now you're getting like, you're using wireless audio right now to transmit your, to the receiver to the box.
Yeah, the funny thing is the transmitter and the receiver are about an inch apart right now. So it's very, very, and then it's getting hard lined in. So it's traveling more distance on a wire than wirelessly right now.
But yeah.
It's literally traveling this far wirelessly, and then it's, I don't know, that's probably like 1.5 feet of cable.
It's fun.
That's funny.
It's fun the way we do workarounds to do things. But wouldn't it be nice if all the cameras just ran off we had the box plugged in, but then they just ran wirelessly, They didn't need a battery or anything. They just ran, they could just be in the zone of power,
Yeah, like a big induction charging idea, but you don't need to be physically contacted by it. You just need to be in the
it's like a solar power thing, like the panels.
Yeah,
just have it so it has to reflect off of the plug in the wall or whatever.
Emitter. Well, then Q uses magnet or the Qi wireless, like your iPhone or your phones.
Yeah.
They use overlapping magnetic fields.
Yeah, the induction charging.
Yep. And so it's like transfer powers that way.
Oh, that's what I say. So eventually we'll get to the part where it's like if you played StarCraft, right? Where you have the Protoss, you just put down the big energy barrier thing that lets you build. I'm sorry if you're not getting this reference, but it's basically in the game you have to build this tower that has a radius around it, and then inside of that radius you can actually build your buildings.
Interesting.
And it's sort of like the power thing that we're talking about, like wireless power. It's like that's what provides the juice for all of those things. So if they get destroyed, all of a sudden your buildings stop working.
Well, that's kind of this is definitely a tangent, but I just never understood the scale at which Duluth heats its industrial buildings. Is that there's a central steam plant. And all the buildings,
where I work.
and all the buildings have lines plumbed to them, and so the steam, cycles through, each of the buildings, and that's where the heat comes from. So it's like
interesting.
You own a home, you're responsible for heating your home, but you own this collective group of businesses, and they can all be heated by one thing, and it's more energy efficient to have one place supply the heat for multiple buildings than each building have its own ability to generate its own heat. That was just always really kind of cool.
I just like the idea that we have a steam factory.
I know, right? Right.
Going down to the steam mines, gonna harvest some steam.
Right.
So there's always been the whole plot of Terminator is computers become sentient and then figure out that humanity is hell bent on destroying itself. So then they just go ahead and destroy us ahead of time or whatever. And there's that theory, right? So that's another theory is we might be reaching out to life not as we know it.
Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, I want to before you do that, going back to the "we're not worth it" thing, I did want to mention That's like the Men in Black throwaway line where like human communication and intelligence is so low it's considered an infectious disease.
Oh, right. Oh, they got the humans or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that planet got the humans.
Well, it's kind of funny. So after I read this article, I was scrolling down into the comments, and one guy was like, "Yeah, we're kind of the insane asylum of the universe." I was like, "Okay, yeah, I get it."
It's where we just put all the crazies.
Right.
Yes.
Anyway, so then, so the not life as we know it, it says we had it wrong all the time. Extraterrestrials may not be biological at all. Noted astronomer Lord Martin Rees said that they might be machines out there, not organic creatures. So we should be looking for solar harvesting, non-carbon-based structures instead of listening for radio wave signals. So that was kind of interesting as well. And, you know, because it's like, okay, we just assume they're like going to be like us, but they might not be like us at all. They could be something completely different.
Right.
And then I think there's another one that we might just kind of tie into this. Oh, yeah. Let's see here.
Well, while you're looking for that, the interesting thing about non-carbon-based life, the reason, at least as I understand it, that carbon is why all life on Earth is based on carbon is because it's the easiest way to build like the amino acid chains you need because the carbon is very interactive in that way. And there are ideas you could have like silica-based life forms because it's a very similar type of element in that way, but it's not as robustly capable as carbon, but you could have a different actual like molecular base or atomic base, I guess, for your life forms. And then going into the machine thing, there's this whole theory that like as like you start as some sort of base life form and then you start incorporating machinery upgrades, like sort of like biomech upgrades into the thing, then people that are more capable of accepting those upgrades are the ones that actually survive longer. And then through that type of natural selection, you become able to actually like intake like high amounts of like iron and like gold or whatever like that. And you're actually like start organically creating the mechanical parts.
Right.
So it's like you have like a living machine type of thing where it's like it's an because like we have inorganic parts about us, even though we're an organic thing, whatever, we're an organism. So eventually you can get to a point where you have basically mechanical structures that have to intake things to create themselves. It's interesting.
That is super interesting.
Yeah.
And so that ties into, Kara had read one earlier, and you can maybe hit your notes on this, but so there is the way that we're communicating. So the long road ahead of us states that basically we've got a long way to go, and that SETI has barely scratched the surface of radio universe, and there are many more wavelengths to scan, so we shouldn't give up hope yet. So basically, they're on channel A, we're on channel B, and we're just not hitting the same wavelengths.
Right.
But the one that you read was really good.
So there's a scientist, Andrew Fain. What he said basically is it's like you're trying to speak with your friends on a CB radio that has 250 billion channels, but you don't know which channel your friend is on. And so we're going to be sitting there scrolling through the different channels until we figure out which one the aliens could possibly be transmitting from.
And that, I think you maybe mentioned it earlier, is like we might be using radio waves, but there's other ways to transmit information as well.
And that was something else I saw, that the
like
aliens
neutrino based or something.
Yeah,
or
aliens
like,
are too advanced for us, and so they're using a neutrine way of communication, and we can't translate that.
Yeah, it's like we're on CB radios and they're on iPhones.
Yeah, exactly.
And then one of the other things, so it goes both ways. Either they're too intelligent for us, or the other one I saw was they're not intelligent enough. And so they're not transmitting. Mm-hmm. And so because they're not transmitting, we're obviously not receiving.
And or we could be equivalent, and they could be so far away that our signals haven't even gotten to the other place yet. So Jeremy touched on this a little bit, the different types of things. Something that blows my mind that I don't think a lot of people realize is radio waves are light.
Right.
It's all part of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's just a part of light that we can't see. If we could see in the radio wave field, Earth would just look like a big giant light bulb always.
Right.
From all the radio waves that are being used for stuff. And then there's like you can go even lower, you can go even higher, and like your X-rays, gamma rays, blah blah blah. Like the more intense forms of energy, and like it's just looking at the whole EM spectrum and how we use that to transmit information. So, backing up into another thing that I think is kind of cool. When I was growing up, like obviously we had like fiber optics and stuff, but people would always say it's like you can't encode information into like a photon, right? Like a photon can't carry information. It's a massless particle. You can't do anything to it. But you can use the pattern of how that signal is sent, which is how fiber optics work. It's a pattern of the way that the light is going transmitted through the fiber optic cable that carries the information, which is how radio waves work. There's a pattern of the information that is sent out in this slice of the EM field that you pick up and then decode on the other side.
Right.
Which just like that's how you can use something that can't carry information to send information is just blows my mind. It's so freaking cool.
It's super cool. Like that's the type of thought experiments you can get just lost in, you know?
Yeah.
And it just opens the door for different ways to code information in the same wavelength, you know?
Yep.
And so it's like we could just be sending it coded in a way that they have no idea what we're talking about. There's actually a picture breakdown of the first code that's sent out that I'll get to you, Chris, and we'll post it right
Is it
here.
the WoW one?
I think so, but it looks like a little guy with like a light beam coming out of his head. It's really funny. It's on the Wikipedia page for the Fermi paradox.
Oh, it's the one that we sent out, not the one that we got.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I know which one you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, the WoW signal, the one we received. Everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
We got
And
something back
the
on
dude
SETI.
it's called the WoW one because the dude wrote WoW next to it because it actually seemed to have like a repeating pattern and everything.
Right. That's a whole nother crazy thing. But yeah, the one that we sent out looks absolutely crazy. Like I would be like,
We
what the
haven't
heck are we
sent
talking
much
about?
out, have we?
Well, I mean, every television broadcast and radio show and everything, all of that goes out.
So I'm going to that. The article I was reading said that basically our television, our radio, anything that transmits only goes 0.3 light years away from Earth.
Oh, and then it just dies?
And then it just dies.
Oh.
So basically, for an alien to be able to get that would be very slim.
Okay.
So.
And then, okay, so I've got like one-ish kind of more serious one, and then I've got a couple fun science fiction-y ones that I can't wait to talk about. But basically, quote Star Wars here, a galaxy far, far away. So this just says that the universe is so big. 46.5 billion light years is the distance to the edge of the observable universe. We've scanned just simply 40,000 light years from Earth, and we haven't even outpassed the bounds of our galaxy yet, which is 100,000 light years wide. Alien intelligence could be out there, but they're just too far away to reach. So what's fun about that is somebody tried to put it into scale, and it says just in our galaxy alone, if you equate that to all the water on the planet, we've searched about a bathtub's worth.
Dang.
So far. And so it's like, okay, we've got quite a bit to look through.
Right. Well,
you
then,
know?
like I was telling Jeremy, we're sending out probes. Basically, like, how many probes do we have out there?
Not
I
a
don't
lot.
know.
A dozen.
A dozen. So, I mean, even sending them out a dozen ways, the further apart they get, that there's so much more than that they're missing.
Yeah, you imagine
So
if you
it's
drew like 12 dots on a balloon, and as you keep inflating the balloon because they're getting further away.
That's
Right.
a great analogy.
Yeah, there's so much space in between them that there's just being missed.
Exactly. So it's like, you're missing so much, dudes. Come on.
So that's kind of, like kind of a fun one to think about.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so that's more of the serious or, plausible ones. So there's another fun one. It's kind of like the Star Trek theory, as I'm just going to call it, is we don't interact with certain indigenous life on the planet still. We leave them undisturbed and they're living their ways of life until they get to a certain point where they want to interact with us. So there could be advanced life out there that we just haven't reached the point where they're like, okay, we're going to let Earth grow, we're going to let Earth do their thing, that we have to reach a certain threshold in order for these civilizations to accept us.
And we kind of touched on that earlier.
Yeah, we're not done cooking yet.
Yeah.
We're-
Right, yeah, right. out
We're
there.
the
energy level
lesser
thing,
beings.
But yeah, just kind of, diving into that one a little bit more again then is just kind of fun to think about. It's like, oh my goodness, it's like we've still got a long ways to go.
Right. We
before
think we're so advanced, and it's like, actually.
You guys are just, you're still in
You're
the Stone
babies
Age.
still.
You're using rocks to smash open other rocks, and
Right.
you guys need to be cutting with laser beams or
I
something.
mean, we still do use rocks. Diamonds. Rocks.
I know. So that one's kind of fun. But Chris, are you ready for my scary one?
Scary one.
I like this one.
Is this going to give me nightmares, or is this just going to make me feel depressed?
Probably. You're going to have nightmares.
You're going to get nightmares. Okay. So this is called the dark forest theory. And here's what's fun about this. According to this article I'm reading, there is a novel called The Dark Forest by Lou Cixin, C-I-X-I-N.
Okay.
And this is one of the plot of one of the books. And here's how it breaks it down. All life desires to stay alive. And because there is no way to know if other life forms will destroy you given the chance, you must assume the safest option is to just annihilate any other life forms before they have the same to do to you.
Okay.
So it's like with that approach in mind, and there's been some people who say that we shouldn't be sending signals out. We should try to be quiet because we don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want to attract anybody to us. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to alert the negative thing. So here's
Thanos.
So here's what
Independence Day.
right. Here's what's kind of a fun breakdown. So here's the paranoia. The universe is a dark forest, and every civilization is an armed hunter stalking their way through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path, and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds another life, delicate or, scary, there's only one thing they can do, open fire and eliminate them. So really, it's a bit like the prisoner's dilemma applied to game theory. It's we could all be in it together and work together, or we could be quiet because we just want to preserve species here on Earth. And that's there's a fun comment somebody made in one of the articles and said, could you imagine if somebody did take, like if we're living in that style universe and it's like somebody reaches out to us and they're like, hey, keep it down. They're going to find you. It's like, that would scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be genuinely terrifying. That'd be something the government would never tell us.
right. As they just turn down SETI.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to be quiet.
Well, it's kind of funny, kind of ties into the Lego time lapse that you shared with me of the comet.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday?
I don't know when,
Anyway,
but yeah.
so
Sometime
it's
in the
basically there's a spaceship flying around Earth, and all of a sudden this comet comes floating in towards
Kind of like
Earth.
Apollo 11, or no, not Asteroid, the one with Bruce Willis.
Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Anyway, so they're getting messages from NASA back on Earth, and they're like, comet coming towards Earth. We need you guys to go take care of this. So they fly up to it. They go out. They plant a bomb, and they fly away. They're like, mission successful, whatever. And all of a sudden, the bomb is going. It's ticking away. And all of a sudden, you see this little hatch open with aliens in it.
It's a spaceship.
And it's a spaceship.
They got
and
little
they've got
picket signs. Oh.
We come in peace. Take us to your leader, friends, and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, the thing starts beeping and flashing, and the aliens look at it, and then it blows up, and the aliens just go flying.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what did you do to us? Just
We came in peace.
We came in peace. We just inadvertently blow up their asteroid. So that's kind of fun. So if you just look at the whole thing in a paradox, it's like there's life. Is there life out there based on a couple like mathematical formulas? There should be. We haven't found any, and that was just a big fun.
Well, I mean, they are finding there are planets around stars that are habitable.
There is quite a few, and that's fun when you like browse the internet and they're like, oh, there's this new one, and there's this other new one.
In the article I read, it did cut it down. So in our galaxy,
for what we found so far, right?
That we found so far, there are hundreds of billions of stars with 40 billion Earth-sized planets that could be habitable.
Dang.
So it's like, I don't know if there's going to be little green aliens with huge eyes, but
right.
There could be other intelligent life out there.
Well, so one of the things that's interesting when you start thinking about alien life is, and I've seen so many different things that sort of talk about the same type of thing, but humanoid life, like if you look on Earth, like everything's different shaped already.
Right.
We're just one version of what life can look like,
right.
and it's just the best for us in these circumstances. Like there could be life that has adapted to the circumstances, whatever planet that they came a part to, that looks so vastly different to anything that we could even imagine. Like if gravity was a little bit stronger here, we'd be shorter. If gravity was a little bit, or like not if gravity itself, but if Earth was less massive.
Right.
We would be taller. If it was more massive, we'd be shorter.
Oh, dear God, I don't need to be any taller.
That type of thing. It's like if the air, like even back in an earlier age on Earth, when there was more oxygen in the air, bugs were gigantic.
Right.
Which is terrifying just as its own thought.
I'm glad I didn't live then.
Could you imagine a mosquito the size of a seagull?
Okay.
I mean,
no, thank you.
Okay.
That would be
You're
horrible.
just getting lanced.
On the way here.
It's like Jumanji, right?
Right? Well, on the way here, this dragonfly hits me in the head and falls and lands on my scarf. And I look down, and it was like this big. It was literally
She
that
froze.
big. I was like, ugh. And I swatted it away, but it was huge.
While I was doing some studying last
that.
night, a moth hit me in the face, and it was a little annoying because he flew into my cheek, and it was like, it was a thud, like thump right into
They're
my cheek.
so
I'm like,
gross.
oh man, they got some decent mass behind them.
Yeah.
That's
you
why they're so
imagine?
nasty.
Could you imagine if,
Oh, if there was a moth the size of me, I think I would die right then and there.
Kara would Rambo it up, bandana on, Gatling gun, just take this moth. Do, 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 do.
I was leaving work yesterday, and I don't know, there were these like little itty bitty gnats. There was like hundreds of thousands of them on my
Yeah.
car. My car was covered in them.
I
and I was
hate
like,
those.
oh, I was so grossed out by it. But I was like, I got in my car really quick or whatever, and they're still all over the thing. I start driving, and they're like holding on.
Yes.
And then finally, like most of them like blow off
Right.
and stuff. But then, like I get out and I'm like squishing a bunch of them because I don't want a bunch of gnats.
Right.
I will. There haven't been that many mayflies this year.
Well, I was going to say, do you remember when we used to work at a gas station? There'd always be like the time of year, like 1 or 2 gas pumps would all of a sudden just become covered solid. Isn't those mayflies?
Oh yeah.
You would-
Those things
yeah.
are nasty.
They're gross.
They are gross.
And I haven't seen any this year.
Well, that's usually
Knock
usually
on
come
wood.
earlier.
They're cyclical too, I think, aren't they? Kind of like army
Oh,
worms.
like
where it's
army worms?
Oh, are they?
There's years where it's like you're just gonna have billions of them. There's years where you're just not gonna have so many.
So hopefully this is Kara just prefers years with none.
Right? It's just like I need a place where there are no bugs.
Oh, Mayfly year? I'm gonna have a bad
Whatsoever.
year.
But I was thinking as I was walking into my house, I was like, how many things have I killed?
Right.
Like in my life,
Seriously?
just like because it's like humans are just incredibly good at extinguishing life, but there's a lot of things that are good at killing stuff too.
Right.
Right.
But just the sheer like variety and volume of stuff that just the random everyday person has killed. You know, it's like mosquitoes. Like, a lot of them are insects, just because there's lots of insects out there. But
Right.
it's like you run something over with your car or something. Like there's just so many ways that we just go and kill stuff. It's like what's my KD ratio is huge because I've never died
Yes.
yet.
Right.
But just do all of the killing.
Chris is at 10 billion kills, 0 loss.
I mean,
0
I
deaths.
probably killed 200 things yesterday.
Right. Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah. You have no idea. And
I think for me, the most things that I've killed is probably spiders.
oh, Kara hates spiders.
Spiders
But-
and moths.
It just
But spiders take care of other things for you.
I don't care. I'll take a bat over a spider, thank you. And they take care of things too, so it's all good.
My sister was sending me bat memes, and one of the funniest things, because it's now getting towards fall and Halloween
Right.
and all that. And one of the funniest one was a photograph of a bat that was hanging upside down from a branch that's about like an inch off of the ground, and he's just like, "Yep, this is good enough." It's like his feet are just on the little twig, and he's just like laying on the ground, like, "Yeah."
That's hilarious. That's really funny.
I think bats are cute.
They are cute. We got to see Bat Bridge. Kara saw it when we were down in Austin,
Yeah.
and then we got to see it. Chris and I saw it
Yeah.
with all the bats. Although the smell of urine is very intense under that bridge. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's insane.
is. My
And what I
goodness.
can't believe is the way they like funnel up in there and like pack in there. It's just insane because they got to fall out in order of the way that they went in. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I was the first one home tonight. I guess I'm leaving at the last one out tomorrow. It's like is that kind of the way they do an airplane?
Yeah. Yep.
Except if the first class bats get to go in the front and first, and then also leave first.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you got to buy the premium ticket for that.
Oh, smart bats. But yeah, it's like you're talking about, just the way that, look at animals. Animals have a rough way of communicating with each other. They can bark or show a defensive position, and there's context to the way that they look and deal with each other. But straight up communication, like, hey man, how are you feeling today? Like they don't really have a way to articulate their feelings. Or gorillas blow my mind. That was a Vsauce video. He talks about the Sally Ann experiment where kids at a certain age, they don't realize that other people have access to information that they don't have.
Yeah.
So it was
or
like-
that other people don't have the access to information that you do have.
Right.
So, like, if you know something's like under a cup,
Yes.
and you just assume that the other person knows that too.
that it's under the cup. And so it's like gorillas can sign for stuff, but they don't know to like ask a question more or less.
Yes, it's so cool.
Well, what if one of the reasons, and talking about communication, what if one of the reasons we haven't heard from aliens is basically our form of communication is basically like a dog barking to them.
Yeah,
we
we're
have
just
no idea
barking
what
and
a
they're-
dog bark is.
Yeah.
You can never translate that.
Yeah.
Like you can tell if it's angry or whatever. But
We're all angry here.
Yeah.
we're
Apparently
salty
people on YouTube are angry.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, hate is gonna hate. But yeah, we were just a bunch of dogs barking down here, and aliens are like,
Oh man,
"What do you want?"
what do you want? Somebody go put a Dyson sphere over Earth. We can just quiet them down and use their energy.
The insane asylum of the universe, right there.
Just crush it down. So that was one of the fun topics that I had come across, and I thought it would make for a fun chit chat podcast because it is fun to think about. Like, humans are very social people or social creatures. We really need interaction with others.
You have your introverts, your extroverts, you know.
Right, but even people
introverts, you still have like meaningful connection and stuff, and that's one of those things that when people talk about how solitary confinement is so like damaging to a person because even if you don't like other people, you need to have interaction with people. Otherwise, it hurts you psychologically.
Yeah.
Like it reduces your like ability to be able to function on a normal level because you're restricted in your access to other people.
Oh man, we should do a thing on a topic on solitary confinement sometime because that's super interesting to me.
I think there's a Last Week Tonight episode about it.
Oh really?
So we'll just let John Oliver do the heavy lifting.
Oh god, right. We'll rehash it.
Right.
But yeah, it's we're super social creatures, and so on an earthly scale we have company, but on a galactic scale we don't.
At least not that we know.
That's like the lone blue photograph of the Earth where it's
pale
just
blue dot.
the pale blue dot of
Carl
where
Sagan.
There you go. Look at Chris over there.
This is so smart.
I science sometimes, guys.
Yes, I didn't
I
even
have to
need
admit
to.
it, I science.
Kara and I, did our preparatory work for this episode, and Chris is like, I want to be surprised. And so I was like, well, he's either going to have fun or hate it.
And Chris knows more about this topic.
Yeah, I know. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't even know the guy Ernie Fermello.
What? Enrico Fermi.
Oh, there we go. Enrico Fermi. You knew him right off the bat. That was super impressive.
Yeah.
But this wouldn't be a nerdy podcast if we didn't. I just wanted a couple of really cool quick points before we finish up for the day.
Is this gonna be about Star Wars? I'm just kidding.
No. It's a big Nintendo
Come on,
news.
we're right to the podcast. It's Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
But some big Nintendo fun stuff is these announcements got me excited. So Animal Crossing has an official release date of March 20th, 2020.
I love Animal Crossing.
Such a good game. Have you seen the trailer for it?
I haven't actually. So shout out to Claire, our intern at work in our department. She sits in the desk right across from me now. She doesn't play a lot of video games, but she loves Animal Crossing.
Did she play the mobile game?
I don't believe so.
Okay, but Animal Crossing comes out 2020. We'll just dive into this for a second because it's so awesome. So I grew up playing it. I played Animal Crossing with my mom. My mom likes Animal Crossing, so we would play in the same town, and she would work the bells and pay her town off. And I actually have a salty story about that. Is she hopped onto my game, she paid her house off, and in Animal Crossing, the original one, when you paid your house off, you got a golden statue. So then I was like, oh, I want that so bad. So I went fishing and cut down trees and got fruit and everything. And I made all my bells and paid off Nuke, and I paid my house off, and I was waiting for my golden statue to be put up. It's silver. So gold is to the first person who pays their house off, and there you can have 4 people in a town. Silver is second, bronze is third, and the last guy gets nothing.
Oh.
The last guy gets nothing. No. So in my own game, I was the silver statue and my mom had the gold. Then, when you created an Animal Crossing world, the environment was differently generated depending on, whatever factors they used to generate their world. Then after paying her house off in my game, she's like, I want to start my own. So she got her own memory card and she got her own game. She logged onto my GameCube and she didn't want to be a burden anymore, so she deleted her account and the gold statue went away, but mine stayed silver. So then I couldn't have a gold statue in my town anymore, and I only got stuck with silver. So she sets up shop, owns the place, and then leaves and ruins it for me. So I don't have my gold statue anymore.
You should have just deleted it and started a whole new town.
Do you know how long it takes to pay your house off?
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Doing all the collections and stuff too.
Yeah,
It's one of I've never fully finished any collection. I got real close on a few. But there's always some where it's just like I'm not going to do the cheat where you just change the time on the thing or whatever. Correct. And it's just like whenever it's the time of year that it needs to be, I never get that one fish or that one bug or whatever. Man. And it's just like there's always like 2 or 3 gaps, and it drives me nuts.
I have completed the fish on one Animal Crossing game, and it's really fun. So when you complete the fish, you get like a fish windmill on top of your house, like a golden fish windmill, and then the bugs give you.
And if you get it the second time, you get a silver one.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Your mom went and got the gold one.
Yeah,
You're
get the
stuck
fish
with the
and
I like how
silver
your mom
again.
just owned you in your own game.
I
That's
know,
hilarious.
Your
she
mom's
did.
sitting there just just
Yeah.
trolling you hard.
Absolutely. So some
Become strong, son, but not
Yes.
strong enough.
So there's some fun features I was going to tell you about, Chris. So I saw the trailer, and Animal Crossing gets me hyped. It's such a relaxing game. To me, it's the epitome of a relaxing game. It's perfect.
I like Minecraft.
And so it's like Minecraft without any zombies. It's like peaceful Minecraft. And then you make friends too with the villagers and stuff like that. So here's what some of the fun features are new. So they came out with a trailer, and then on the recent Nintendo Direct, they actually have 5 minutes of full-blown gameplay. So there's a brand new element introduced. There's crafting now. So crafting looks super fun. So now it's Minecraft now. If you punch a tree, you get a certain type of wood, and then you use that to make an axe. And then if you axe a tree, you get another different type of, like a wood that you use to make different stuff. So you make your own fishing poles, you make your own bug nets now. You can advance through all that stuff.
That's cool.
Super cool. That was a fun thing about Animal Crossing Original too. The game made you pace out. When you first started playing, your first day, Nooks wasn't even open.
Yep.
Then you could only do so much the first night you played the game. You had to wait for the store to close. It goes off of real time. So then you wake up the next morning and you fire it back up and Nooks is open. If you bought his inventory of the day, that's all he got stocked. And so then you could buy, he'd either carry the fishing pole or the bug net or the shovel. So you buy one, he'd be out of stock. You have to come back the next day and hope it was in stock. And so it was like a game when
so grindy.
yeah, well, in a world of instant gratification, Animal Crossing actually made you slow down a little bit. And then if it wasn't the season that was correct, like if you wanted winter fish, you had to wait till winter and build snow. It's such a great game.
You know that kind of what makes me play right now, talking about all that stuff? What's the farming game we used to play?
Harvest Moon.
Nope.
Stardew
it's
Valley.
Stardew Valley.
The Stardew Valley has multiplayer, and it's so
I
fun.
love that game.
Have you played it multiplayer?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I played
man.
the multiplayer beta.
Is it
I played
is
it the
it-
first day that the beta was out. It was
Is it
so
multiplayer
awesome.
online?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like we three could play together.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, you can have up to four. You can have up to 4 people.
Dudes, I know what we're doing.
Play some Stardew Valley.
Stardew is so freaking good.
It
We'll
is.
stream it on Twitch.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah. I'll actually.
Instead of the podcast.
Just us playing Stardew Valley.
I was gonna
from
say
here
I
on out.
kind of if we play Halo today or not Halo Destiny, I kind of want to stream today.
Well, there you go. We can try that. We set it up.
The
we
makeup
set it up.
is nice today, so I'm thinking,
Yeah, I didn't throw up when I saw you.
Yeah. So the new features about Animal
those
Crossing.
comments are for Jeremy, not me.
It's okay. Chris threw up when he saw me today.
Yeah.
That's our routine. It's part of the 2 minute
I have to
pre-roll.
I have to edit blindfolded every time.
I was gonna say
cut
our
to Jeremy.
iTunes little clip was only gonna be me at
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, Chris just kept blinking me out. And he's like,
it
oh,
was-
funny. It
Yeah, I was
just-
like, we just blur this part out. Yeah.
Oh, Chris, I had some other fun news for you to remind me at the end. But anyways, so new features to Animal Crossing really quick from the 5 minute go. There's crafting now. You can now play stuff indoors and outdoors. You go to a new island and you get to completely rehabilitate the island. You can dig paths in the dirt. You don't have to chop down trees anymore and replant them. You can chop them down and move them. The game just seems like a much larger scale. There's a new tool called pole vaulting, so you can like pole vault over rivers. You don't have to go all the way run over to the bridge. Just a lot of fun new features. So I can't wait to see how that's all incorporated. You get up to
Interesting.
8-player multiplayer in Animal Crossing now.
Sweet.
I'm super excited for that game. Then another one, Janae had sent me a text out of the blue. She's like, what was that pilot game we used to play on the Super Nintendo as a kid? And it was called Pilot Wings. And I loved that game. And up to this point, a lot of times if you wanted to play anything Super Nintendo, you'd have to do like a ROM and an emulator or something like that. Well, Nintendo Direct, when they first launched their online service, they gave you a free what was called an NES emulator, and it came with like 20 or 25 NES games. Well, on September 5th, so just a couple days ago, they launched the SNES emulator, and it comes with 20 or 25 games, up to including Mario Kart, Super Mario World,
Which I was playing the other day.
Star Fox, Pilot Wings, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Just all these super
Is
great
Super
titles.
Bomberman 2 on there by any chance?
Kirby Dreamland. There's 2 Kirby games on there. Bomberman is not on there.
Oh, that was
That
my
edition
favorite game.
Bomberman is a great one. The new
Okay.
Bombermans are so advanced; it's too much to do.
You know, it was like,
Wouldn't-
yeah, it was so fun.
Wouldn't that be on the Raspberry Pi?
Oh, it is on the Raspberry Pi one. It absolutely is.
We should just get Chris that.
Oh, that was like the couch multiplayer game to play for me,
Right.
Because like it's I remember Tony and I playing it, and then other people could play too. You could play up to 4 players, but it would be like the 2 of us, and there'd be 2 NPCs, and like just the random power ups, and like they were simple, they were easy to understand how they work. There was only like a half dozen of them or so. So you get the roller skate and the glove, and you know you're good to go or whatever. Like you get kicks, you can kick the bombs back. You get the jelly bombs or whatever. It was such a good game. I love that game.
There was almost sometimes it was maybe nice to get your you'd pick up the flame and your bombs would go up one more block or on the grid.
Yep.
Sometimes if you got them like to 8 or 9, it was 2. You'd kill yourself because you'd put it down. You couldn't even get away.
Yeah.
It was like 5 or 6 was just perfect. 5 or 6 would kick.
Yeah, and you could get like, or they get like the one that actually like expanded out over the grid radius and stuff too. So it's like you get like the big ones, and then you're blowing up other bombs to.
Yep.
It's so fun.
Oh, and yeah, you could chain link them together.
And they're just like, and it's fast. You know,
such a fun game.
Okay, we've been talking about doing it. We just need to pin AJ down, copy his Raspberry Pi file, and put it on ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can all get together and have a vintage.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to do like a stream, like just us mess around in games we used to love to play.
Absolutely.
Did you ever play 7-Up's The Spot game? Oh, what was the name of that one?
I did not.
It was the 7-Up guy.
It was a 7-Up Spot. Remember from like the 90s
I do remember
commercials?
him.
Yeah. So
What a weird
basically, you
mascot.
play. That game was great. Basically, you just like kind of run through these different levels as a 7-Up Spot, and to attack enemies, you'd shoot bubbles. So it was
Have some carbonation, sucker.
Right.
Do you? Speaking of 7-Up, do you remember the old 7-Up campaign that was "Make 7-Up yours"?
Yes. There's a T-shirt and it said "Make 7 up yours" on the back. Oh my god. It was pretty funny.
Who was it? There was some famous comedian for a short period of time. Oh man, I'm gonna have to put a note in when I'm editing this because I can't remember the name of the comedian, but like he was like the main spokesperson for 7-Up for a while during that. And I can't remember who it was. He was in a couple of like big like comedy movies in that area, and then just sort of like disappeared.
I saw a funny commercial where a kid won tickets. It was like how brutal 90s commercials were, and a kid won tickets to like a WWF match or whatever, and the guy that came to show up at this house gate to give him the tickets was a famous wrestler at the time, and so he's like, in order to get your tickets, kids, you got to beat me. And it's just the wrestler taking the kid and breaking all the furniture in the house with the kid's body. And then the parents are like, oh, little Jimmy loves this. And they pull out their VHS camera and they're filming this wrestler just beat the crap out of their kid. They're like, man, advertising was brutal in the 90s, poor kiddos.
Yeah, it was.
And
Okay,
so-
advertising was better in the 90s.
Speaking of 90s stuff, we had lunch as an office yesterday, and someone brought Surge, and we started talking about Surge.
yeah.
And like, so I'm one of the older people in the office. It's like I'm the second oldest. It's Keith and me, then my boss, and then everybody else is in like their lower 20s.
Oh, they're just babies.
Yeah, so like, they're like, Surge, what's Surge? And I was like,
man.
what's Surge? It was the drink back in the
Too
day.
happy.
Well, they got rid of it after, like,
Yeah, it was
because
too-
it was too
too
caffeinated or something.
too extreme for children.
And then they
was-
came out with like Red Bull and Monster. And
Yeah,
all
There
that
was
stuff.
the King of the Hill commercial. King of the Hill commercial where there's like a bunch of couches and a beat up old whatever, and there's a can of Surge at the top. And it shows like all these kids like running up this couch mountain, just ripping each other off the mountain,
Yeah.
trying to get to the top, and then the person's like gets the can, Surge,
Yeah,
chugs it and stuff like that.
the 90s were a good time.
Yeah, they were.
Commercial, like I said, commercials were
Well, then there was
great
that
in the 90s.
Tang monkey commercial, the Tang orange juice mix, and he'd
Yeah.
like make his drink mix, and he was just up to shenanigans and stuff like that.
I haven't thought about Tang in a long time.
Well, it was one of those things I never got.
Oh!
I always wanted.
never
but
got Tang?
No, my mom never bought it.
my mom bought Tang.
Speaking of things that you did get, air hogs.
Oh yes.
And Dan played one of the commercials. It's like, how does it work? Air pressure.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it was such.
I had an air hog. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I remember going down to Veterans Park before. Where there was literally basic. It was just a field.
Yep.
And firing that thing around. It was so good. Your dad rode the bike backwards.
Yes, he did. And so, nostalgia. We're going to end on nostalgia for the day, but we just have a couple shout outs. We want to give a shout out to Randall Lombardo on Google. So Chris and I do a lot of collaborative work over where I'll need stuff and he might not have it available to him, and he'll use Google Chrome Remote Desktop. And he was having this very, very specific problem where apparently it was crashing on him and it said the version was out of date. And so after Googling a little bit, old Randall had claimed that if you try to use Photoshop's paintbrush tool while in Google Chrome desktop, it causes the program to crash.
And that's exactly what the problem was.
And that was what the problem was.
But I mean, what are the chances of that?
Yeah, it's like you have to be specifically trying to use a Photoshop brush tool while in remote desktop. And it's like, Randall, good job. I don't like. There's no way for us to thumbs up or like your thing, and this is like last year or something.
Yep.
But you saved the day. We transferred the file over and just did it the long way. But
Yep. And so we would have never figured that out if it was old Randall naming out a specific problem. And then Kara, you had gotten like a free pin or something.
Oh
from the
yeah,
Lady
so
Minnesota?
I'm a part of the Galactic Vampire on Facebook, and this woman is a pin designer. I think her Instagram is Miss Upsetter Designs. Anyway, she was doing a giveaway on the Galactic Vampire, and I won.
Kara won the pin.
I won the pins, and she's actually, her name is Joanna Wallace, and so I'll be getting the pin in the mail.
So we just
I'm
want
really
to say,
excited.
we just want to say thank you to
Yeah.
her for the awesome pin. Kara loves Star Wars stuff and glitter.
Yeah,
and
and
that's
so
what the pin is.
it's this little rectangle. It's got a mix of the Resistance logo, the Empire logo, and then it's got the female sign
Oh, cool.
coming off
That's
of it.
awesome.
And then
That's
it's
super
silver
cool.
and super glittery, and it's awesome. So I'm super excited about that. So big shout out to Joanna Wallace.
that's
All
sweet.
right.
I was supposed to remind you of something for the end of the thing, and I don't remember what it is. Do you recall what I was supposed to remind
Yep,
you of?
I'll tell you about it afterwards.
Oh, so this isn't
It's a
something that needs to
secret.
go in.
Oh,
It's
it's
a
a-
Oh,
Secret.
it's not a
Ooh.
podcast. It's not.
Oh, it's a secret. But
interesting.
Can we tell them at some point?
maybe we'll see.
All right, okay.
Keep I don't know, keep people on the loop. So,
Everybody's gonna be like, you can't leave a tank like this.
all right.
I did just re-trigger all the cameras. So if you want, we can
yeah,
go for another,
right.
like 20 minutes.
all right.
Dang.
Right. Well, that's all I have for today. So, Kara, you're good?
I think I'm
Chris,
good.
you're good?
Man, I feel like I should just sit here and talk out loud until people get bored and just turn the video off.
We don't want to lose subs, Chris. We want to gain subs. You know what I'm saying?
Like, yes, that's
So-
one way to do it.
All right. Well, before this turns into a Minnesota goodbye, we just want to say thank you, everybody. And if you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to us. Ring the bell if you would like notifications. But comment down below on like your favorite Fermi paradox theory. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
And thank you to all of our Audible listeners here on iTunes, and it's also on Spotify or Google Play. So thank you so much for watching.
And may the force be with you.